This is a Glassbox Media podcast.
He woke me up at like 6 o'clock on a Saturday and they would not let me go back to sleep, even though I fed him because he's a jerk. And so, of course, I get onto the doom scroll that we know as Facebook. And actually, I think I found it on Twitter, if I'm honest. I don't remember. It might have been Facebook, but whatever it was
it's all
Chadwick
very
Boseman.
bad.
It was Chadwick Boseman, and he was like surprising people who were talking about how important Black Panther was to them in their lives and how important that representation was. And I'm telling you, when I say I was sobbing, I was like guffawing for like breaths. I was like,
I watched that back when it came out. I think I shared it to my Facebook because that came out back when Black Panther came out. So like 2016-ish. And I shared that to my Facebook at the time. And I've been having a really difficult emotional day. I've just talked to you guys completely about that. And I do think that the thing that pushed me over the edge finally was Chadwick Boseman dying. I think it really did like completely push me over the edge, just like looking at all of the posts that were made and just seeing a lot of these like Black people that I follow being broken. And it seems so strange that this should be the thing that breaks us, but I think it's just like how much
he was a
more
superhero,
right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And it just feels like how much more can one community or like one culture take in a year at a time when we're already like stretched so thin and pushed so hard. And I remember saying when Black Panther came out that I was so excited when I went and I saw it in theaters. And whenever I came home, I remember saying, all my life I wanted to be whiter, and this movie made me want to be blacker. Like it made me so proud of my heritage, and so many people felt that way. And so his loss at this time was just really, really hard, I think, on a lot of people. And I remember that video specifically was, I shared it because I was just like, it's so
I feel
true.
like I'd remembered seeing it before, so I had to have seen it on your thing. But I just, for some reason today, like after hearing that news last night and then seeing that this morning, just fucking, it hit me in the gut like a punch. I was just, and I'm literally just fucking sobbing, like crying this morning, just watching this fucking video. And I'm just like, you're right. And I guess, I mean, I'm just some white girl. So, I mean, like, I can't speak to it from a proud point, but I just, it struck me like what a loss this was for the community because of how powerful the character that he portrayed, how powerful, not only that, but if you think about, he's been dealing with this for 4 years.
Yeah.
You're a superhero, not just in what you portrayed on screen, but that you went through filming this, like, and doing this behind the scenes with, you know what I'm saying? Like,
he also like took time to like visit terminally ill kids with cancer. And it's just, so it's not just the whole Black Panther thing. It's like he was a superhero in real life too, you know?
Well, and anytime something like this happens where you don't know he's ill and he's so young, it feels incredibly shocking because the relationship between people and celebrities is so strange because you do feel like you know them. And so whenever something like this happens, it is so shocking because you didn't have time to prepare. It's not like you knew he was sick. It's not like if Alex Trebek, God bless him, knock on wood, I hope nothing bad happens to him. But it's not like if Alex Trebek were to pass away where we've had months and months of knowing that he's struggling with cancer. You know, none of us knew. So we, you know, were together last night when we got the text from my boyfriend, like people don't know him, from Anthony, saying that Chadwick Boseman passed away, we were all shocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is shocking.
43, it's
baby.
It's also like, it's difficult to recognize. I'm like, that's not that much older than I am, And I'm just like, I guess it makes you thankful for your health and everything. If nothing else this year, with as incredibly terrible and painful and scary as it's been, there's also been moments where I've been like brought to my knees with gratitude of the things that I think day to day that I've taken for granted. My health being one of them, the ability to start running and stuff again and feeling in my body has been something that the last couple of weeks I've been like, holy shit, I'm so thankful to be healthy. It's something I take for granted day in and day out. And there are, way more things. I'm like, I'm so thankful to have a job right now. I'm so thankful to have a roof over my head. There's these overwhelming feelings of gratitude that 2020 is at least unearthed in my life.
Me too. And on top of that, this year, I feel like because things have been so out of the norm, I made it a point to start a path or start a journey for myself to recognize those things that I am grateful for and acknowledge those things. And it can really change your life. If just that one little thing, if you every morning write down or even just think in your head a couple of things that you have to be grateful for, it really does make you a more positive person.
Well, it's because media wants you to be afraid. They want you to be sad. They want you to be angry.
They profit off of it.
They're putting all these negative emotions out there, and it's so difficult to remember that there are baby goats and that there are like sunny days, and that there are. I mean, yes, of course there is terrible fucking shit going down now, and I don't mean to diminish it whatsoever by saying like, find silver linings when you can, but you kind of have to do that to protect your mental state.
Yeah. You have to. It's not, I think it's important to recognize that you can't do the work that you need to do to undo the bad shit if you are completely exhausted. And if you are completely mentally drained and spent, you can't do the stuff that you need to do, because depression will knock you on your ass and then you can't get up and do anything. So you need to like acknowledge those good things so that you can be present in this movement or any movement at all.
Yeah. Sure. And to bring it back to dating and stuff too. I mean, yes, our podcast is called My Worst Date. We share nothing but terrible, terrible dating stories, but they're not all bad. We've all gone on some really great dates too. Maybe they haven't all worked out, but, like,
they don't all need to, right?
Exactly.
I also think that like, even the bad dates, I think an overarching theme of our podcast is that a lot of times, look, occasionally we get a bad date where I'm like, that did nothing for you. I'm so sorry. But
there was not a learning lesson there
most
even.
of the time, I feel like there are lessons to be learned.
Right.
That teach you something about yourself or something about what you want in a partner or whatever.
Well,
so it's like
sharing the ideas, hey, this happened to me on a bad day, beware, or like just some of the things I think that are, we can learn from each other's experiences,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's part of what a community is.
Yeah.
Is being able to be there for each other, pass along ideas and tips.
Village.
Yeah, it does. It does.
We're your dating village.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to My Worst Dating Village. I'm Cassie.
How are we doing this? I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
Oh, jeez.
So I need to talk to you guys about, I know that I mentioned it to you briefly before, but before I got off of Facebook, somebody had shared to the one thing that I truly miss from Facebook is our group. I've said this before because I was back on Facebook for like a second and then I'm back off of it. But someone shared in our Facebook group that Jordan Sparks came out and said that Jason Derulo screams his name during sex. And I just think that that's the funniest. It's the funniest thing of all time.
If Anthony was like, Anthony Marquez.
I cannot. And also, like, it makes me think of, like, do you think, like, DJ Khaled is like, you the best music, like, in the middle? Like, what else
Khaled.
is there? You know what I mean? Like,
and another one.
and another one. Like, when he's coming, you're like,
no.
I told you guys there's that TikTok. I have to find it for you where this guy ranks all the times that Jason Derulo says his name, like in songs. Like,
amazing.
So he ranks them like the top 10. It's
you
so funny.
That's already weird. And I don't know why I didn't like really register how weird that actually is.
Yeah.
That he sings his name. That's like his signature that he puts on songs.
I mean, but if you were a singer, can you imagine saying your own name in your song? It feels weird.
No. I mean,
I think it's even weirder if it's
during sex
in
is
bed.
way weirder. Yeah,
that's
way
weirder. Yeah, that's
because if
no
it's your
comparison.
signature for a song, it's weird. But I'm like, all right. If somebody said their own name for any reason, if anybody listening to this podcast has a story where they were sleeping with somebody and they said their own name during sex, especially if it's first and last, I want to hear about it.
Bizarre.
Or said somebody else's name.
Well, I feel like that happens.
Yeah, but we haven't had a story like that, and I feel like we need one.
I said someone else's name during sex before.
No, you did
yes,
not.
I did.
Yeah. She shared it on the podcast.
I feel like I said this.
I forgot.
Yeah, no, I have. And yeah, it's embarrassing. It's not fun. Then you have to like explain yourself. It's a whole thing. But the only way, and we know somebody who did this, which is the only reason why I would even think about this, and the fact that I have a unisex name. But we do have a friend who dated or went on a date with a guy who had
somebody with
her
the
same name so that she could say her own name during sex. So that might be the only acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever something I've done. Maybe I need to think about it. I don't think I've ever
never
said
dated a Chris.
I've never called out a dude's name.
I don't think I've ever said a dude's name out loud either. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I guess it's not in me to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know names. I don't know.
And I think it gets weirder. Like the longer you date somebody, the less you hear your own name and the less you say their name. So it's like really weird when Eric's like Christina. I'm like, what?
What?
Am I in trouble?
I know. Chris does that to me. And he's like, Cassie. I'm like, what are you saying? What? What?
Well, and the longer you go in a I feel like there's a couple things here. It depends on the name. Because there are certain names that are just cumbersome during the rhythm of sex. Like you can't bring them up. It's too much.
Christina's
it's too hard.
So many syllables.
It's too many syllables. It's not going to work. And secondly, like the longer you go in a relationship without, like it's not something that you introduce into sex, like after you've been together for a couple of years. Like it's something that I feel like you have to start doing in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
What would you do if you were having sex with Jason Derulo and he did that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Probably finish and ghost him.
Yeah.
Talk about it on the podcast.
Dude, this guy that I was dating, he said his name. His own
But I wonder if he's
name.
saying it.
And it's like a full name.
No, it's a first and last, which is really weird. And did he sing it? Did he sing it? Did he scream it? Did he just say it quietly? Like what? I want to know how this occurred.
Jason Derulo.
Just that's even worse. Just
Yeah.
a whisper real close to the ear.
Oh, no.
Dude, the other thing that you're really missing from Facebook right now, which no, stay off, and I'll just share them with you. But the wedding shaming group, there was literally a wedding shaming post with a wedding that was full balloons.
I know. I did see that before I left Facebook. I almost tagged you in it.
And you know better.
I knew better because I was like, this might actually give Cassie nightmares. So if you are a newer listener, Cassie has full balloon phobia. I don't know what the technical term. I'm sure there is one.
There's got to be a technical term for this.
100% there is one.
It's got to be like some kind of phobia.
Yeah. And you, for real, have it bad. Like when we were on the cruise, there was a balloon drop on the last night of the cruise. And so there was a big net up full of balloons. And we were in the lobby area. And Cassie looked up at this net and she was like, let's look at the schedule. What time is the balloon drop? We need to be out of here a full hour before the balloons drop.
Full hour, just in case there's a mistake, in case like a rope slips or some shit. I was like, God. Oh.
And this was a full wedding, like her wedding dress.
Her wedding dress was made of like baby balloons. Ew. It looked like goddamn condoms.
Also impractical.
And smelly. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like, I can smell that wedding. It smells like a latex glove.
And why? Also, like, I don't understand the reasoning because I'm like, it's not comfortable. You can't sit down.
Mm-hmm. They just thought it was cool.
How much money did they spend on balloons? Because it was a lot. I mean, it had to have been like thousands.
It was floor to ceiling decorated balloons. Like the entire wall was covered.
And then they're decorated. Fuck put those balloons up?
Oh my God.
That is my imagine
nightmare.
It is. That's why I said, I was like, this is my goddamn nightmare. Like, who does this?
Globophobia.
Globophobia. Well, there you go.
All right, here it is. I fully have that. Am I red right now? Like, I feel like I'm red right now.
Oh, God. I mean, I feel like when we've talked about your balloon phobia in the past on the podcast, I've brought this up to you, but I always think about this because there's like balloon phobias like yours. And then there's the guy on My Strange Addiction who just has like, he's like sexually attracted to balloons.
Can you imagine that's your guess?
Yeah. Oh, have I not talked about this?
No.
Yeah.
There's a guy on My Strange Addiction. He's like an older man. I was going to say gentleman, but it feels weird in this context. An older man who like there
was a real sex about this.
Was there? I never saw that one. But he is like sexually attracted to balloons. And he like would explain like different colors, like red ones are like really hot to him. And he like had a relationship. He was either married or or something.
What
and
happens
she was
when they
like
pop or deflate?
No, he likes
anything.
it. He likes the popping. Yeah, he likes the sound of the popping. And he had an entire room. Like, this poor woman, I don't know if she was married to him or what, but, like, she was like, I need you to deal with this because there was, like, a whole room in their house that they couldn't use.
Oh, no.
Because it was, like, his balloon room. It was just floor to ceiling. Cassie's losing her fucking mind. She hates this conversation.
Devote an entire room
I hate this. I'm sweating
your partner's
so much.
Fetish.
No, yeah, like one that you're not even participating in because like she was like, I don't give a shit about the balloons.
Yeah, that's what always weirds me out when you watch like shows like My Strange Addiction or Hoarders or whatever, where it's like the person who doesn't have that affliction that's married to them, and I'm just like, oh my God,
dude, I feel
so
like
hard.
Maybe my commitment isn't strong enough because I feel like I would later. Some of these episodes of Hoarders, I'm like, I would have been gone, sir. Like,
yeah, the second we started shitting into plastic bags and putting it into the closet, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh like that.
And I think we pride ourselves on not yucking yums and fetishes, but this is one just because of my own personal, just real absolute terror of balloons. I can't get behind. And look, it's just not for me. Mm-hmm. There is a Beth for your dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, not your wife because she's not into it. But but exactly, like I don't give a shit about balloons. So I'm like, if you want to fuck around with balloons and have a whole room dedicated to them, you're not hurting anyone. I don't really care. It's only an issue when it becomes like a problem within your relationships. Mm-hmm. Like if you can't,
I don't consent to this.
If you can't manage your relationships because of
balloons.
a fetish or anything.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like that's an issue that you should explore. Like,
Yeah.
you
Well,
should
yeah,
look into that.
that's what's, like the whole like porn addiction and stuff too. It's like any fetish. I don't yuck anybody's yum either. And it's like, yeah, play around, get consent, do you, whatever. But when it starts like getting in between where it's like becomes solitary and it drives a wedge in between your real life human relationships, then I think it's a problem.
Right. When you're
Right.
choosing this thing over nurturing relationships that you actually have
Right.
in your real life, I think that's an issue, you know? I don't know.
That was a fun beginning.
Speaking
Nice
of
opener.
speaking of porn, I really, Cassie, I hate to ask you this, but
Okay.
part of me was thinking about this at some point today. I don't know why it popped in my head, but you've really got me with the invisible dog in your romance novel.
Oh my
So,
God.
listeners,
You guys.
Cassie texts us about this romance novel she's been reading. She's on like chapter 51 of
Which
it.
is, by the way, unless that's the last chapter,
It's
that's
close.
too many chapters for a romance novel.
It
I'm
was like 82% of the way through because I was on Kindle, and Kindle like lets you know like where you are percentage wise through the book. And I only happened to look because I was like, I need to know how far I fucking read this book to find this out. So okay, so I like an alpha male character. I like I change my themes occasionally, but I do like I'll vary between like something fun and kind of rom-com-y or something really dark and BDSM, or I just, it's fun. Like I like to explore it.
Right.
But I am the person too who's like, life is too short to finish a book I'm not enjoying. So if I get like part of the way through it, I'm not going to force myself to read a book that's meant to be for pleasure and fun. I'm just not like, that's just
Right,
not what I'm
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But so this book, I'm like enjoying it. I'm not like gonna Dear Diary, this is the best book I've ever read, or like write like a thesis paper on it. It's fine. Like it's literally like just, it's okay. It's an okay book. You guys don't have a
I don't have a diary that I journal all of my favorite books. I'm like, hold on, I have to stop right mid sentence in
Dear
my
diary.
I've got to go jot this down. BRB.
So yeah, like it's not okay. So like the book itself was like it's enemies to lovers
Which
kind of
I
thing,
love
which
that
I
theme.
love.
Me too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love an enemies to lovers. So it's going along and it's fine, and it's going from like perspective to perspective, right? So it's like female perspective, male perspective, back and forth throughout the whole book, and it's just rolling along. Well, in the male's perspective, he talks a lot. Not even a lot. Like he talks about like his dog Max, and Max is like like just kind of like, it's not even a character. It's just that Max can go in places with him. He takes Max everywhere with him. Max likes to chase squirrels. It's just like a very small, like little drops of this dog. And honestly, you wouldn't even consider thinking about it twice until 82% of the way through the book. It's at that climax part of the book where they've been torn apart because, something bad happened. And then, so now they're trying to come back together, and she's meeting him in his office, and he looks over to his dog and he's like, Max, go get her. Like he's like, doesn't want her to leave. So he's like, Max, get her, take her by the hem of the skirt, like to his dog. Right.
Which is a weird thing to say to a real dog.
Thank you.
Right.
As well. Like,
But then she turns around and she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's my imaginary fucking dog.
there's so much to unpack.
I'm still mad.
No, Cassie, you texted, wait, ... Did I just almost finish this fucking smut book and just find out that dude's dog is imaginary? What? And the dog is a minor aside to the story. What in the actual fuck?
It's not even like a main point or
And
purpose.
it's a very odd choice for this character to be aware also that the dog is imaginary, because he says the words, that's my imaginary dog, Max. Is that worse or better than not knowing? I
I don't
almost
know.
feel like I would be like, well, if you really think that this dog is real, then you know what? We'll take you to the doctor. We'll get you on some medication. But you being a grown adult man who I assume has like a job and shit, and you just know
big CEO billionaire,
that you have an imaginary dog it's
wild,
almost worse.
It's wild.
I don't know what I would do if
I'm mad.
I was that girl.
Leave.
Oh no! Well, you know what they did
so
do because
weird.
it's a smut book. She has like a moment where she sees him for who his vulnerable self is.
Shut your fucking
and
mouth.
they're gonna have sex.
No-
of course they
no
are.
woman
and
in the
I
world would do
literally
that.
was like, I cannot. There's not a fucking ounce of me that wants to finish this book right now. And I was like, nope, I'm out.
I
am
really
OUT.
don't think that I would sleep with someone right after that.
Why? Why does he have an imaginary dog?
Well, 'cause he
Cassie,
had-
I need you to find out.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're gonna need you to finish the book.
Okay,
for
so
us.
like, no, I know why he's damaged, right? So he's a damaged billionaire, and he and
but
these.
this is the way the writer decided to manifest his damage was through an imaginary dog, a thing that is okay.
But this is why they're enemies to lovers, is because she goes after her specifically because it's her father that was part of him being kidnapped for 3 weeks with these other kids. And I'm like, it is wild. And listen. He's so fucked up over these
book
3
when I was drunk.
This sounds like a creative writing project that I had when I was 14. Like I know, kidnapped.
Oh man, Kelly, boobies and newbies.
Please tell her.
I got a book
warn
for
her.
you.
Warn her before she
Yes.
chooses to do this for her podcast.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call out the name of the book. I'm reading a good one right now. I had to cleanse my palate. That was yikes.
Wait, but I'm sorry, I didn't let you finish. What does the childhood kidnapping have to do with the dog?
I guess that he has manifested this dog into something he can. I don't fucking know.
You
like
need
it's
therapy,
the most
sir.
stretchiest stretch of shit. And the thing of it is too is like he goes after this girl. Okay, this girl thinks her dad is dead. Has been living in homes since she was like a teenager with her sister who's like dying of like some sort of heart thing. And it's like, but you have a fucking imaginary dog because of the 3 weeks you spent.
I feel like
It's the fucking
this
worst.
writer
It's so
really
bad.
tried to put everything they could think of into this book. They were like, what? How much trauma can I fit into one book about fucking?
It's a lot.
Yes, exactly. I'm just like,
I will tell you,
you don't have to justify fucking.
The next book that I picked, I literally went through down to check out the like star reviews, and the first 2 reviews had 2 stars, and it said too much sex, and I was like, perfect, purchase. Like how fucking Nietzsche's story.
Page 2, they get right to fucking. You're like, this is what I'm here for.
I was kind of disappointed because it's not. It's actually got a story behind it. I was like, whatever.
It's actually got a story. Like, I can't believe there's a plot.
How dare you? Well, at least it's not that plot. That plot was.
It sounds like a lot. It
Jump
sounds like
shark.
It sounds like I would need one of those boards with like red string to keep track of that plot. Like I don't know what's happening. How are they connected? What was the dad's role?
Yes, exactly that.
That's so extra.
It's
Extra.
extra. Exactly.
I want one of those things now for our podcast where I could press a button and it just like does that extra.
I think we might get sued for that.
I know, totally.
They probably don't allow that. They're like, we do not condone or affiliate
Does Extra
ourselves
still
with this.
exist?
I don't know.
If not, then they can go fuck themselves.
Wow.
We'll just take
Right.
it.
Wow.
Exactly.
I loved doing this podcast with you guys. I don't think they have that kind of power, but
Extra doesn't have that kind of power. Come on.
Yeah. Dude,
There's somebody who works at Extra right now just crying,
does
listening.
Inside Edition still exist, or did
I don't think so.
TMZ put them out?
I think they've been gone for a while. Inside Edition was like the after school or like after dinner shit
Yep. That shit
every night.
was scandalous.
And it was like the Star magazine of.
Yeah, I feel like TMZ and like all of those quote unquote news programs on E-News probably put those things out of business.
I think
Things like
there's still like
Inside Edition.
Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, I feel like that probably does exist still.
I remember that. Oh my god!
What was that girl's name? Mary Hart's. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I think that's where we got our vacuuming grass from.
Yes. From our Entertainment Tonight background.
I tell you, somebody was listening to WAP, like high volume. I was sitting on my couch, like just chilling at home, and I think I hear Cardi B, and I'm like, is that WAP? And I go over to the window and I'm like, somebody is playing WAP like maximum volume in my apartment complex. And I think it's coming from my neighbors, which made me laugh so hard because it's like an old guy and his son. Amazing. And I'm like, are you guys just at home listening to Megan Thee Stallion? Like
getting it.
It's the song of the summer. I told you guys too. I actually think the clean edit is dirtier.
Wet and gushy.
No.
Can you
I don't
imagine
like that.
calling anyone? I don't know if there's much that would make me feel less wet and gushy than if somebody actually called it gushy.
I hate that.
I'm more comfortable saying pussy
than
I am saying gush. Ew. Gushy.
It is gross. It reminds me of gushers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I sent you guys that video of, I started doing, sometimes on my rest days, I'll do the Fitness Marshal, which I highly recommend. They're so fun. They're just like dance, he does like dance videos and you dance along and they're super fun. But he did a video of him doing an entire dance routine for his mom on FaceTime to the clean edit.
Hilarious.
And she's so completely unamused and she's like, I don't understand what that means, and that's what he says. He's like, wet and gushy, like a gusher or a starburst, and I'm like,
nope no thank you. No. You guys, speaking of like crazy shit like that's like it reminded me of Mary Hart is a girl I went to high school with posted something the other day that was like 2020 is brought to you by, and it was like, did you guys ever watch Days of Our Lives?
Occasionally.
It was DeMero or whatever his name is, the bad guy, like who's always
yes.
Yeah. He was like always in control of all the bad shit that was happening. And he was like the mafia guy or whatever. I was cracking up laughing.
I saw one that it was a TikTok somebody made. God bless TikTok. I saw a TikTok somebody made, and it was like the guy who was in charge of our simulation. And it's like a guy with like a coffee on a computer. And then he like slips and spills coffee all over the computer. And he's like, oh no. He's like trying to dry the computer off. He's like, oh no. And I'm like, that's exactly what happened. We had some incompetent person controlling our simulation.
That's what I'm loving about TikTok. Honestly, I really am. Like, people are so fucking funny. They really
are.
Creative. So like, creative. Really. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, who should we fuck, marry, kill this week?
You know, what'd be funny is to do like, did we ever do like old daytime shock? It's just reminding me of like Mary Hart and then sweeping the grass and like old school. Like, did we ever do like Geraldo and like Phil?
Oh my!
What was his name? God. Phil Donahue.
Oh my God! Sally Jesse Raphael. What about what was
Ricky Lake?
Ricky Lake. That's what I was thinking of.
Jenny Jones.
God.
Yeah, I mean, and then of course you have Jerry Springer, Maury Povich.
We should do that. Maury Povich, Geraldo,
Montel Williams.
I think we should do Jerry Springer.
Okay.
I think we should do Geraldo.
I'm doing Maury for sure.
Maury. Yeah.
All right. Those three are fine. Let's Maury.
Yeah, okay.
Look, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I watched Maury like well into my 20s because when I first got my own apartment, like tiny little place. I was living by myself for the only time I ever lived completely on my own. And I didn't have cable. I didn't have like anything. So I had bunny ears. Like I had like actual bunny ears, and it picked up like 3 stations, and I worked like early in the morning and I was off work at like 4. So when I came home and I turned on my TV, Maury was on. And so I watched Maury like every single day.
Yeah. You are not the father.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so we've got
Maury,
Jerry Springer,
Geraldo.
and Geraldo.
Oh,
I know I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I know what I'm doing. Okay.
I think I know too.
I'm killing Geraldo.
There is no other answer.
There is no other
I think
answer.
you're right.
Oh, okay. I looked at Cassie because I wasn't
think
sure.
you're right.
Yeah,
I think that has to be
that
it.
mustache got to go.
Yeah, he's awful. He's smarmy.
He is.
I mean, they're all
When
like
he
a little
opened that
smarmy
fucking
in their
Capone thing,
own way.
and there was
but
not a
he's-
goddamn thing in it. I was like, yes.
It was so funny.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, you gotta kill him. That's a smarmy, slick. I mean, he's texting other girls on the side.
Oh,
100. He
he's
thinks
working
he's the
late.
shit.
Yes.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, and he's
awful.
going to talk down to you.
Mhm,
Like, you know
mhm.
he's
He's gonna
gonna
actually.
actually, he's gonna mansplain you till the cows come home. I'm 100% not into it. In fact, I don't understand how he got famous in the first place. Because
I'm gonna make a new Christmas movie this year starring Geraldo and call it actually.
I hate it.
But sorry.
And then I am going to marry Jerry Springer.
Whoa. How dare you do that?
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Why?
That's a hot take.
I don't understand.
Because I think that I always really liked, and y'all can make fun of me, but his closing
God.
statement.
Oh God!
How he
It's
would
like
do
Jerry
that
says or whatever.
Yeah, his closing statement was always really thoughtful, and I think it belied.
He didn't write
a
those,
very,
Christina.
Well, maybe you don't know he didn't write them. Where I'm like, maybe he's
He
a
was
very
the mayor,
thoughtful
right? Like-
individual.
he has
He
a
was the mayor of
sensitive soul.
Cincinnati.
What?
Wait,
Yeah.
you didn't know this?
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? You didn't really know
No,
that?
I didn't know that. Oh,
Oh.
no! Oh God!
It's political.
What a mess.
Yeah, I honestly think, it's his job aside that maybe he'd be a very thoughtful, compassionate.
I bet he would be.
What you got
Like-
against Maury, girl?
No, I'm going to fuck him. I'm going to fuck him. I think Maury's kind of
I think Maury's kind of
Kinda
hot.
hot.
Yeah, I agree.
so.
He's
I'm-
married to
Connie
what's her
Chung.
name? Yeah, that's right.
And they've been married for a long time.
Forever.
He loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
That man
it.
is loyal.
Yeah, I'm like he's got Maury money, and I'm just like, yeah. There's something about him that's just like, I mean, he looks like he'd be a freak in bed.
He's got the most sex appeal, I will say.
Yeah,
out of
for
those
sure.
three,
Yeah.
Geraldo thinks he has the most sex appeal,
he's
but
gross.
he does not.
Yeah.
Gross.
I bet you Geraldo likes a lot of like baby oil. Like he looks like he would be like slippery like a
Ew.
dolphin. You know, I
Ew.
don't like it. Okay,
like a dolphin.
I respect you, Christina, and I respect your decision.
Right.
Because you know what? We don't know Jerry Springer. And like maybe he's actually like a super nice dude. We don't know. I am going to fuck Jerry Springer because why not?
Yeah, same. Why not?
Why not? I aside from the fact that yes, his show is garbage and
Yeah.
promoted a lot of like shitty stuff, but
Real
I mean,
shitty.
really a lot of
All
these
of those
shows
did. All of
yeah.
them did.
So aside from that, I mean, I have nothing against Jerry Springer really. So I'll fuck Jerry Springer and I'm gonna marry Maury. There's
Yeah.
something like that, I don't know. There's
It's
something
more genuine, it feels like. Like, doesn't it feel like he does that show and he hates himself for it?
a
right?
little
Like,
bit.
he's a little
especially
self-loathing.
since- Isn't Connie
bet-
Chung like an actual journalist?
Yes, I bet you Maury Povich grew up wanting to be Walter Cronkite, and there's a little
Aw.
bit of self-hating in him, and
He
that
hates it.
is not a fun person to be married to. Because
I don't
Maury
know.
Povich seems like he's somebody that had aspirations to be like Dan Rather or wants
But he doesn't
Walter
seem
Cronkite.
I agree
He
with
doesn't
you.
seem pissy though. Like he doesn't seem angry. You just know you feel him roll his eyes at his own show. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's how I feel about
I
it.
feel like I might be inclined to agree with you if he hadn't had a successful marriage to Connie Chung for so long.
Right.
Because like he's managed to be kind of the like less serious in the pairing for like 30 years or something.
I bet they'd be fun at a party, wouldn't they?
They probably
I
would
bet
be
they put
fun.
on a really nice cocktail party, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? They're like, I feel like the Connie Chung Maury party is the party that you think is respectable, and then like after a couple bottles of wine, it turns
gets
into
a little,
key party.
Like eyes wide shut. Yeah.
Titties come out. You're like, God damn.
You're like, God, Connie, I wasn't expecting that. Wow.
Whoa.
So I kind of feel like maybe Maury, maybe he had aspirations of being Walter Cronkite, but now he's in this place where he's like, man, what? I work a couple hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
I get to fucking kick it in my giant ass house with my super
it's not
successful
like
wife.
he's stressed out taking work home with him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like,
True.
yeah, deuces. You are not the father. Good night.
Bye.
Mic drop.
And also, not my problem. Bye.
Yes. I'm going to stir the pot and walk away. See you later. That's what all those shows do.
It was literally the beginning of our vacuuming grass era.
Yes. Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I'm doing the same as you, Keegan. Absolutely the same. Like, honestly, first and foremost, I'm sorry, Geraldo. You gotta go.
Ugh.
Your dick is dirty.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Covered in baby oil.
Ugh. Dolphin roll. Gross.
Dear diary.
Mary and Maury. Dear diary, I'm going to marry Maury. In my MASH game, I marry Maury. And I am going to fuck Jerry. Yeah, just get it over with, honestly. I don't think he's going to be good, but I can't.
I really don't think he is either. I don't have like a sexual... I don't feel a sexual energy coming out of Jerry Springer. Like there's like a weird sexual energy that comes out of Maury. But I'm like, I don't know where that's coming from, but there's an aura.
I kind of feel like Jerry would be like a marshmallow. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's
like,
soft.
Soft.
But you know what? I bet
he's going to try hard though.
I bet you he's a really sweet granddad.
I bet he's a good.
Yeah, I bet he's.
I bet he likes to make love. And I just gagged. Nice. All right. Well, that was gross.
Yeah.
Glad we got to do that.
Well, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with stories?
We actually have to announce that we have a new patron.
Yes.
So first we'll do that. We also have a winner for our duffel bag.
For our tote bag.
Duffel bag. Jeez, I wish. Her tote bag for the 5-word story. And it's Michelle. So congratulations, Michelle. We're not saying last names.
But we will get that to you soon.
Yes.
We'll be reaching out to you very soon.
Speaking of Michelle's, though, I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our listeners, Michelle Church, who is a listener and is big on our Facebook group, who does live in Lake Charles in Louisiana, which just got hit by a big hurricane.
Category 4, I think.
Yeah. And her apartment complex got pretty wrecked. And I know that her unit specifically was not damaged specifically, but the units around her, there was a lot of damage in the area. And I just want to shout out anybody that's in Texas and in Louisiana right now, because I know that you guys are dealing with that. And our thoughts are with you, and we're thinking of you at this time.
I can't imagine going through something like that, especially at this time when everybody is already going through it, you know? So, we're thinking about you.
Right. I mean, think about like everybody's quarantining, everybody's,
people are already out of work,
and you're having to go to stay in a hotel. It's terrible.
It's tough. It's really tough. But I do want to give a shout out to our new patron, Kylie McKee. We are so excited to have you. We are working on some new Patreon stuff. So we have stuff coming down is it Pike? I always feel like I don't know what to say there. Is it Pike or Pipe? Doesn't matter. It's on its way, is what I'm trying to say.
It's coming down the thing, and it's coming to you.
Yeah. So we are working on some stuff. This pandemic, we had a whole discussion about how, like, when it first happened, I think for us, it was easy for us to kind of hit the pause on the podcast because we're like, we're only going to be doing this for a couple months. We're going to be right back into it. So it's going to be fine. So
right.
Of course, that wasn't the case. And here we are 6 months later. So
do all these things, and as soon as this ends,
right. So we are just going to move forward with our plans and come up with new plans. And so if it feels like we haven't been doing a lot of new stuff, we know, we're sorry, we're working on it.
Yeah, we're getting it too. We're actually all not just working on it, we're working on ourselves too. We're all working out. So we're all like feeling our bodies and feeling good about ourselves again. So
giving more mental energy to come up with ideas, man.
We're getting
it. The new normal. TM.
Yeah. Also, just a quick shout out to some of the worsties on the Facebook group who have also been starting Chloe Ting challenges as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so stoked. I actually shared my day 1 and day 12 picture with a couple people because I think like for me, I was in that place where I was like, I don't know if I feel it or whatever. And then I was like, oh, that before after picture. There it is.
Yeah, I encourage people really like, especially if they're doing this program, I can't speak to like everything else, but for me, don't weigh yourself. Like that's not a good measure of like your progress because you might gain weight. Your weight might stay the same because you're gaining muscle and stuff. But
you can see it.
Do the before and after pictures. If you're feeling confident with numbers, do the measurements because that's where you're going to see like changes if you're doing it for aesthetic reasons, which is not the only reason to work out, but if you are, it's a good way to measure your progress. Don't get caught up with what's on the scale. I'm not weighing myself. I've made a commitment to myself not to weigh myself. So
awesome.
Yeah, same here. Well, you guys, now we can take 5 and come back with stories.
We can.
I'll allow it. And we're back. Okay, so I'm going to kick us off with stories this week, and this one was submitted to us by a listener in our email, and the subject line is cause of death, cringe.
Oh, no.
Which I love. It's very shame receipt-y.
Oh, perfect. I love a shame receipt.
So she says, "Hi, worsties. I very recently found your podcast and have been binge listening and telling everyone I know to do the same.
Yay!
Yay! I cannot get enough, so thank you for all the snort laughs, as undignified as they are.
Amazing.
This story happened when I was in uni. I was probably 19 at the time. Now, at 30, I still occasionally wake up in the middle of the night cringing at the memory."
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
We've all been there. I feel like that happened to me the other night. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night with like a repressed memory.
Oh, Jesus.
Like one that I had not remembered. And I must have shoved that all the way back down because I don't remember what it was now.
You just woke up like, oh, shit.
Yeah, like sweating. I'm like, oh, oh God. I feel like you need to hear it, so here goes. I started dating a man while in uni. We were young, 19 and 20, so to us it seemed quite serious. I'll call him Nick. Nick grew up in the town our uni was in, and to save money, still lived at home with his mum. A bit odd for me, since I moved out at 17, but many of my friends also lived with their parents, so it wasn't too strange. Yeah, I feel like 20 is, I was still living at home at 20 because it's the year I moved to LA. So I was like, what's the point of moving out?
Right, to move out again.
Yeah, just to move out again. So that's not too bad. Nick's mom had him very young. So she was only in her mid to late 30s, and he got on with her more like a friend than a parent. They were very close. So it was only natural that I would meet her pretty early on in the relationship. I got on well with her, and she seemed to like me. All was well. One night, myself and Nick went out to see a movie, grabbed some pub food, and then headed back to his for the night. His mum, of course, was there too, but we just said a quick hello as we got in and then went off to bed. No problems. In the morning, we woke up still feeling a little frisky and proceeded to have some morning sex.
Oh, God.
Oh, nice.
God.
Before we had to face the day. What are your thoughts on morning sex?
Oh, I love it.
I feel like
Chris hates it, but I love it.
I don't like it. I liked it at 19.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
I'm too tired now. I'm grumpy.
I have to be like mentally engaged to really enjoy sex, and I'm not a morning person. So if there's a way for him to wake my brain up, then my body will respond. But mostly, yeah, I'm just like, I'm still like in the between
fog
stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm like, don't,
so my
don't
body,
touch me. I haven't had coffee.
Right.
Now
It's
I
a very 19-year-old thing. You're right.
Yeah, you wake up with all kinds of energy. You could like do Jaeger bombs until 3 a.m. and still have enough energy in the
To do
morning for
morning
sex.
sex. Yeah.
But now I'm 30 and I'm like, if you put your leg on my side of the bed before I've had my coffee.
yeah. I know I like cuddles and stuff like that, but once I need some time to wake up before going to Pound Town, you know.
Wow.
Pounds out.
They were in it. So she says, I was on top and had kicked the bed sheets down to the bottom of the bed. So we were both completely naked going at it. That's very 1920. Midway through, the unthinkable happens. The door opens and in walks Nick's mom.
Oh my God.
And then
Like, it's bad enough if your parent walks
God.
in, but if your new boyfriend's parent walks in, not missing a beat or even slightly ashamed, she proceeds to pick up dirty clothes from the floor
No.
and around the bed to put in the wash.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
the
not.
only appropriate response is to literally, without saying a word, turn around and close the door and
That's
leave.
right.
That
Yes.
is so fucking weird.
Oh my God,
It's
no.
so
No.
weird. It gets weirder. She even stops to ask Nick if he has any more clothes that need to go in.
No, absolutely
Your
not.
son is literally inside some chick, and you're asking him about fucking laundry.
And that's what she says. All while I am stark naked with Nick still literally inside me.
No.
I would die. I would die. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how I am going to find a way to teleport myself out of this house so that I don't have to see either one of you ever again.
So
Ever
fucked
again.
up is that it's like in my head, I'm listening to you tell the story, and I'm like, I get it that it's embarrassing and it's her shame receipt that she's writing in, but I'm like, no, that should be
It's
that
the
mother's
mom's.
shame receipt. That she's like,
Yes.
I can't believe I did that to that poor girl. I hope the mom wakes up and has a shame receipt. Is like, that was so inappropriate. I bet I made her feel really fucking awkward and weird. So that's
I
that
bet you
mom's
she
shame
doesn't.
receipt.
You're right, but I bet you she
doesn't.
doesn't because I bet you she's done this shit before.
Dude, I wouldn't even want to see my son again. I love my son. I'd be like,
imagine. Like, what kind of, what in the free world hell are, like, in the free.
I'm sorry. If my son had a girl in his room, if they were having sex or not, I wouldn't come in the door.
You
know what I
leave
mean?
the house.
Yeah, I'm going to go get coffee. We're done here. Like, I feel like this is some weird, like, culty free love shit.
Weird.
Like, that I am not
here for.
I am not here for. And, like, look, nothing against. Look.
Culty weirds. It's April showers.
Not trying to yuck your yum if you're into culty weird free love shit, but like it's not for me, okay?
Oh my god.
Not for me.
Oh my god.
Needless to say, I was mortified and desperately grabbed the bed sheets to cover myself while I died inside. But Nick seemed to think this intrusion wasn't a big deal and acted as if it was entirely normal. This is not normal. 3 exclamation points.
No,
Sir.
it's not.
No, it's not. It's not normal.
Sir.
It's very strange. We split up not too long after, but I still die of embarrassment every time I think of this story. Thanks for all the laughs. XX.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. And Christina's right. You shouldn't be carrying that shame receipt. However, I would be because I
know, me too.
Oh no, it's coming back. I think I remember what actually woke me up. And it's similar to this.
Oh no.
I forgot. So whenever I was like 18 or 19 and I was dating my ex and we would sleep over at his dad's house because he lived at his dad's and like, cause you know, absolutely couldn't do that at my place. And it was like my first time having sex, right? Like, and so we were doing it quite often. And at one point, I'm sitting in his bedroom, like during the day, and his dad comes in and like asks to see him. And like, so he goes, then he comes back and he was like, he like sits me down and he's like, so we can't spend the night here anymore. No. I was like, why? And he's like, because my dad can hear you. Oh my God. I wanted to die. I wanted to die. I pushed it down so deep.
Keegan.
Oh my God.
So for those of you guys who haven't listened to the podcast before, you've also told a story about being loud and intense.
Camping. I know.
So can we assume that you
wrong
were
with
just
me?
Real fucking loud. This is why they got WAP on fucking blast next door. They're like, God damn.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with
No, nothing.
But and I don't know which instance happened first. And
oh my God.
Why? Okay, I feel like I'm having like PTSD flashbacks.
Oh no!
Like it's like there's like a helicopter, like bombs going off.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Jesus! Well, thank you so much for writing in with your story.
Oh my God, that was fucking hilarious.
Oh my God! Well, my story is gonna piss you off.
Okay.
Are you ready to be angry?
I don't know.
I know. I'm not going to tell you the headline of it. I'm going to share it. This was from a Reddit post and anonymous. So, okay. So this is about 4 or 5 years ago when I was at grad school. I always had a lot of difficulty navigating the dating world, and at least I finally know why. I'm on the autism spectrum, so I have a lot of difficulty with eye contact, interpreting body language, facial expressions, and reading people's intentions. However, at the time, I didn't know I was on the spectrum, so I was super self-conscious about my lack of dating experience and was constantly questioning myself, felt stupid, and believed that anything that happened was always my fault. So, after some encouragement from some friends, I signed up for OkCupid and decided to give it a try. I received lots of requests for hookups, which I ignored because that's definitely not what I was looking for. I had some conversations with a few guys, but they were only short-lived. Finally, this guy, let's call him R, messaged me and seemed pretty interesting and charming. His messages, wow, can't talk, were littered with compliments that were nice to hear, seeing as I had really low self-esteem at the time. He also worked as a musician. I was going to school for music.
Yeah, okay. So a couple things here. And I hate that it has to be this way, or like that I'm so jaded that I feel like this. But I do feel like if somebody off the bat, before they know you at all, is showering you with compliments, it feels very love bomby to me. Like he's trying to manipulate your emotions because he doesn't know you.
Sure.
Exactly.
You know?
I completely agree. I got so sketched out that for people that were like
came on strong like that.
Yeah. I had a guy that, like was like, will you be my girlfriend after like one date? And I was like, I'm like, we don't know each other. It's so weird.
What was your name again?
Don't know each other. Yeah.
So, I was going to school for music, so it was nice to have that in common. I decided to give it a whirl and meet up for coffee. We get to the coffee shop and he's waiting with a huge bouquet of roses. Spectacle usually makes me very uncomfortable. Same.
See, again, and I understand how maybe this could be confusing for men. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt because we've all been raised on rom-coms.
Yes.
And so maybe they're getting mixed signals about like, this is what you do. You shower them with compliments. You bring them roses. But all of that stuff to me is like, this is so... You're coming on really strong.
Yeah,
it's really forward. And like, again, we don't know each other. We're literally meeting for the first time. Roses are very romantic.
And it is a spectacle. It is like you show up and somebody's got that big of a bouquet. Like I could see like maybe like a carnation or like a little small thing of like, wildflowers or something like small, but like roses. It is a spectacle. It's such a word for it. Yeah.
That's the thing, is that the first date, in quotes, when you're doing online dating, isn't even a date.
Right.
It's a fucking meetup. So when you come in with a big bouquet, you're setting up these really weird expectations that put these enormous amount of pressure on somebody. It's like your first meetup.
We're just going to get coffee.
It's just it's just a meetup. You're like, okay, that's who you are and that's who I am, because you can't get that sense through swiping. You can't. So don't make it fucking weird and throw out all these like a big giant bouquet of flowers where then now this person feels like obligated and weird and pressured.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So he pulls out the chair for me, a chair out, gesturing me to take a seat. We began our date. After a series of compliments, he began to list all the things he absolutely would not tolerate in a relationship because he was, quote, was worth more than that. I kind of figured, whoa, buddy, slow down. This is date 1. But I also figured it seemed perfectly reasonable to state what you're looking for. But, I mean, coming out strong.
Yeah, to me, like, that's
worth it.
First of all, like him starting it with compliments again and then going into that whole like laundry list of do's and don'ts.
Right.
Feels, again, very manipulative.
Right.
Like that feels manipulative.
Yeah.
Anyway, date ended. He paid for the coffee. I thanked him and agreed to a second date. The coffee date had been very brief because we had limited time and we're just meeting that day, and I didn't feel like I could get a good solid yes or no yet. Once I get home, R sends me a text saying that he had a great time and that he looks forward to our next date. I say thank you, that I look forward to it too, and then went to bed. The next day, I go to class as usual. I put my phone on silent, turn it off while I'm in class because, well, I'm in class. Once I have my first break, I look at my phone and see dozens of texts from
Knew
R.
where that was going.
Yep.
And
they started with,
and you are not going to see me again, because that is like, you already kind of pressured me with the flowers. You gave me all that weird. Oh my God. I'm like heated.
The red flags
right
are
You are
flying.
not
They're
gonna-
flying.
you're going to be so hot after the end of this. They started with good morning and more compliments, but as they progressed, they sounded very angry that I was not responding. I texted him back apologizing, saying I wasn't ignoring him and that I simply could not text him while I was in class. He called BS and on it, saying it's not that hard to send a text.
Okay. Ladies, or anyone, gentlemen, anyone who is listening right now, if anybody does that to you, where they blow up your phone like that and then get upset with you, you are not entitled.
Psycho.
And it doesn't even matter. Like, even with people you're close to, just because they can reach you all the time does not mean that they deserve access to you all the time. No one deserves
Stalkery is what it
access
sounds
to
like.
you 100% of the time. And it's very controlling, especially this early on, but ever to be this like insane about like responses and like making sure that you respond quickly enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm living my life. Like sometimes I don't have my phone right next to me by choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's such a red flag.
Essentially, he says something along the lines of, I really should bail on you for being so rude and inconsiderate, but I'll give it another chance since you're so pretty and seem apologetic.
This is a fucking generation of men who grew up watching The Pickup Artist and thinking that negging women is the way to get them to be interested in you as a, quote, alpha male. Like, fuck off.
Gross.
He also went on about how he was such a nice guy and all he wants is to have his kindness and effort be appreciated. So I assume everything is always my fault. I apologized. Our second date comes and we agreed to do something outdoors since I was dog sitting. He said he liked dogs and that he didn't mind. So we went to an outlet mall where they had plenty of places to sit outside. The whole time we're walking around, I noticed that he refused to walk next to me and mostly stood very close behind me. He kept shifting around and I noticed he'd move himself to essentially act as a shield anytime another guy was anywhere near me. I asked him about it and he responded saying he's, quote, old school and was simply interested in looking after my safety. Seemed odd since I literally walking a large dog in public place in the broad daylight. I felt like I was made out of glass the whole time.
This guy is These are classic, like, abuser moves.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get to where we're eating and sit down, R opens up with a barrage of concerns he has about me. He starts by saying I've insulted him by accepting all of his compliments without, quote, returning the favor with compliments of my own. He said he didn't feel he deserved this because of how nice he had been to me.
I hate this person. I hate this person. We've talked about a lot of shitheads on this podcast. And I mean, there are a lot of really bad dates, and I can't go through all of them. But this type of guy
it's
is
my
probably,
least favorite. Yeah.
Yes.
The
yes.
fucking worst, honestly.
I would rather have somebody be an outright asshole than a
100.
nice guy TM.
100%.
Being the naive idiot I was, I thought it was somehow made sense. I internally screamed at myself for being rude, since R is not the first person to accuse me of being rude for something I didn't even realize I was doing. He also said that since this was date number 2, he was, quote, making an investment.
Women don't owe you shit. Actually, no one owes you anything. Like, nobody owes you anything.
Ugh.
You are making a choice to go on a date with someone. You are making a choice to spend your time and your money to do this
Keegan,
thing. No one's twisting your fucking
No,
arm.
he's making an investment.
That's not how relationships work,
disgusting.
sir.
It's disgusting. And that I needed to do the same. He told me that even though we weren't quote official, that he expected any woman he went on more than one date with to be exclusively seeing him and nobody else. He didn't want to put in the money and effort if it meant she'd only pick someone else. I was literally being talked to like I was a child.
Okay, there are no guarantees in life. There are no guarantees. In order to try and make dating work, relationships work, there is a risk factor. There's risk involved, financial, emotional, what have you. That's what you are going into. Okay? Like, no one owes you shit.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter how much money or time or whatever you put in.
The harder that you try to grip onto a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
the harder you try to grip onto somebody, it's like holding a handful of sand. It's just going to fall right through your fingers. Like, it does not work that way. You cannot suffocate someone. You cannot control that person. You cannot make it so that they'll never leave you. That's not how it works. You're just pushing them farther away.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't say anything at the time because I actually felt like I was in the wrong and completely froze. Once we finished eating, I offered to split the bill with him since I didn't want him to feel that he needed to pay for everything. I told him it would make me feel better knowing I'd contributed. R responded by saying no and that I could contribute by showing him appreciation he deserved. After the date ended, I felt completely burned out and exhausted. A few days later, I went to lunch with some of my guy friends who had lots of questions about my date. I didn't really want to talk to them about it because I was embarrassed and confused, but agreed because they all seemed so excited. I asked for as much dating advice as I could since I'd felt I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like I was disappointing R. When they asked me to elaborate, I explained what happened. They seemed shocked and super upset. Again, I thought it was me, but to my surprise, they were all pissed at him and explained that it was super predatory behavior. They explained to me what, quote, nice guy was, and that R was trying to weaponize my misplaced guilt and issues with low self-esteem to paint himself as this amazing man that's been victimized and taken for a ride. Needless to say,
here's the thing. Even if this was a man who was dealing with having been jaded, he's been hurt before, whatever,
no
even
excuse.
if that's the case, you're not a therapy center. It is not your job to take care of him, help him work through his issues, or what the fuck ever. If you leave a date, a second date, especially a first or second date, feeling confused and ashamed, there are 7 billion people on this planet, and he ain't the one, sis.
That's right. Needless to say, I told R that I didn't think it was going to work out and no longer wanted to see him. Of course, he complained that, quote, nice guys finish last and that I wasted his time and money by leading him on. I'm much more verbal now with friends if something doesn't feel right and aware that if you have to constantly talk about how nice you are, you're probably putting up with a front. So yeah, nice guys, never again. Girl,
Yep.
I just have to say, I'm so happy that you have this group of friends because
especially guy friends,
Yes.
that they were interested in hearing about, your personal life and what you had to say, and that they didn't hesitate to tell you that that is not normal behavior. Because I feel like women for a long time, we're kind of like, oh, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. They're just unknowable beings. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not. So we sometimes, I feel like, do let things slide.
Sure.
Because we're like, I don't know. But it's nice that you have male friends who can step in and say, absolutely not. This isn't normal.
And I think if this podcast teaches anybody anything, it is you got to have friends because friends don't let friends date, quote, nice guys. And this whole situation was just shit. And it sucks too, because I think that, I'm glad that we have somebody with the perspective of having, autism. Yeah. Thank you. Or on the spectrum, and their thoughts on it. But this can happen to anybody. You don't have to be on the spectrum to have somebody victimize you in this way.
We've had stories on this podcast before that people have written in. And I'm sure that all of us have had experiences, maybe not this aggressive, but we've all had experiences where people gaslight you like that and tell you that whatever you're feeling, try and make you feel like whatever you're feeling is
not
illegitimate.
Justified. Yeah.
Wow. So it's not you, it's them 100% of the time.
Glad you
in
escaped
situations like that.
Hopefully you found something better. Probably
Amen.
Probably not on OkCupid.
All right. Well, I'm sharing a story from Reddit today, and it starts thusly. Strap in.
Uh-oh. Oh, God.
I've been seeing someone casually. We would normally meet up after each of us got off of work, have some drinks and laughs, and go back to mine or her apartment. It was a good deal. We really enjoyed each other's company, and the physical chemistry was really strong. She left on a 6-week trip overseas, and we talked occasionally in that time. I started to miss having her around and thought, maybe I should be taking this more seriously. When she got back, we decided to go on our first proper date in the 4 months or so that we've been seeing each other. We go to the restaurant, and before the waiter even brings us our appetizer, she gets strangely hostile. I got a very direct and accusing, how many people did you sleep with when I was away?
Whoa.
Pump them brakes.
Did you sleep with the register girl at work? It came out of left field for me, and the answer was no. I didn't know where me and her were at the time, but it still felt kind of wrong to me. Conversation changed and became pleasant again, and then, again, completely unprompted, she says, my friends don't like you.
What the fuck? Like, what's happening? Why do you want to be here, ma'am?
Oh my God.
All I could think to say was, that's too bad. I like them. I'm starting to feel something pretty wrong at this point. We went to Guardians of the Galaxy and she's still being negative. That movie was stupid. I fell asleep during it.
What?
I know. Cassie, I was like, Cassie's not going to like that.
Cassie's like, I will fight her in the street.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Let's go home and have a drink then. So we're at her apartment pool, and again, it's accusations about work girl. I'm tired at this point, so let's go inside. Argument somehow turns into kissing and more, so not so bad, right?
No, this is going south.
We have sex, and I last like an embarrassingly short amount of time. It had been 6 weeks.
Well, she's texting all of her friends who do not like you.
Yep. That's a bummer.
She was furious.
She's texting that register girl.
And for once in the date, it was not unfounded. We go back to the
pool.
Okay,
but stop. Like, you should not get furious about it. You can be like maybe mildly disappointed.
Sure.
In like the fact that he didn't last as long as you wanted. But I'm sorry, I don't think you get to be furious about that.
Yeah, that seems extra.
Okay. I think I'm kind of weird as a girl. I take it as a point of pride if somebody
if they do it fast.
I'm like,
I think you were going to say you get mad.
It's because you're wet and gushy.
So we go back to the pool with drinks, and she's still grilling me about work, girl. I finally realized she's projecting a guilty conscience.
Because she fucked somebody during those 6 weeks. Oh, honey.
And
it just got good. I'm vacuuming the grass so hard now. I'm like, what happened?
You're like, I'm just going to clean this pool real quick while you guys drink your
They're like, do you need to stand that close?
I just got to clean the pool. No big deal.
I ask, did you sleep with somebody? Her. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, okay. Okay. Well, how old are these people? Are we talking like 18s?
That's an answer. I don't know how to answer that is an answer. Because if it was no, it would just be no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like, why would she bring it up so many times? Like, after he said no the first time or two, like, maybe just drop it and move on. If you're at all interested in having a relationship with this person.
You're not, and you're trying to have it be his fault and not yours. That's what's happening. You want to end this relationship, but you don't want it to be your fault, even though it's fucking clearly your fucking fault.
So he says, well, I don't care if you did. You're not my girlfriend. If you were, you wouldn't have done it. Now, warning. If you can be grossed out fairly easily, now is the time to stop reading.
Stop it.
No. Oh, no.
How is this going to go in a gross direction? I didn't see this happening.
I didn't see this coming.
Oh, no.
I don't know what to do. I'm so nervous.
Her attitude improved after the initial shock. We go back in and start having sex again, but something is wrong.
No. No.
Very wrong.
No.
I can feel something rubbing against part of my head, of my penis, during strokes until eventually it becomes extremely painful.
No.
I stop and look down.
No.
Part of my head looks like someone took a light sander to it.
Stop
Think
it.
like a
Stop
scraped
it.
knee.
Stop it. Stop it.
I took
Stop
my headphone
it.
out.
Why?
What happened?
His dick helmet is scraped like a knee.
I'm grabbing my own vagina.
I hate this.
Why?
Why? What's in there?
What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Oh no! I don't understand.
I'm so
She
nervous.
somehow blames me. I calm her down and reach into her cervix and press on the object there.
No.
She says she can't feel what I'm pressing on, and I tell her it's a foreign body and she has to see an OBGYN soon. The next morning, I drive her back in complete silence for 20 minutes. The only thing I say was, please see an OB. I get a text a few hours later saying it was a week-old tampon and they removed it.
What in the toxic shock? I cannot.
Why is it so hard?
Why
is it so sharp?
It's calcified. Why is it so sharp?
What?
I don't know.
Do you think she's lying?
No. I mean, why would you lie about that? If I was going to lie,
What
make
else
it
could
like
it have
a
been?
condom or something. Like, I wouldn't be like, I left a tampon in for a week. Oh my God.
I spent the
you
next
guys.
10 days letting my dick heal and putting antibiotic ointment on it.
Oh my God, you got a Neosporin.
Your dickhead.
Oh my God, Christina.
Sorry. That was the worst date.
You think? I think that actually is the worst date.
I'm
That might
gonna
have.
throw
That
up.
might.
That's disgusting.
Oh my God.
That's
Well-
oh my God.
Well.
His dick got scraped.
Yeah.
Wow.
By a week-old tampon.
How?
It's like fossilized in her vagina.
I don't know.
Oh.
Oh my God. Well, God damn it. I did not see that going that direction at all.
Oh.
All
banger.
right. Well, there is literally never a good way to transition.
Well,
between something like that and a Crazy in Love. There's no good way to do it.
Wow. I am shooketh.
Yeah, me too. I'm sweating. All right. So for my Crazy in Love, I'm a little conflicted about doing this one, but I had a really busy week and it's something that had been on my list for a long time. And I was like more than halfway through my notes before I was thinking about like, maybe I should do something else. And at that point I was like, no, you're committed. I don't want to start all over.
We're here.
So, I decided to do this one. And I first heard this story on a podcast that I no longer listen to. But I'd never heard of this before. And I'm pretty sure that you guys probably have.
Okay.
I am going to be talking about Bjork's stalker.
Oh my God. Wait, so you know that my husband's absolute favorite person, musician in the entire world, Bjork.
Yes. Which also, by the way, I learned whenever I was doing
story.
It's really, really fucked up. And the reason why I was kind of conflicted about doing it is because it's really not about Bjork at all. And so I'm doing the notes and it's like it's not about Bjork, really, at all.
It rarely ever is about the person that's being stalked.
Yeah, but I feel like even with like Rebecca Schaefer or like other people, there was a lot more. I don't know. It's hard to explain. We'll go through it.
Okay.
But what I learned while I was doing this is that did you guys know that her name is not pronounced Bjork? It's Björk, like jerk. Björk.
Björk
is how you pronounce her name. But in the interest of not having to stop and correct myself every second, I'm going to just say Bjork throughout this.
The artist known as Bjork.
Yeah. So first of all, this guy was obviously incredibly unwell. And when I listened to that podcast, they aired a lot of clips from his video diary. And I listened to a lot of it. But I hadn't remembered a lot of it. So I went and it is available. His video diaries are available online. I watched way more of it than I should have. And I highly advise against watching any of it because it's very disturbing. Okay, so Ricardo Lopez was born on January 14th, 1975 in Uruguay into a middle-class family, and they did have the means to relocate to the United States. So they did so when he was very young, and they settled in Georgia before eventually ending up in Hollywood, Florida. And his family life, I mean, there don't seem to be a lot of red flags in his childhood. He was easygoing, people said. You know, he was introverted. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when you do these stories, it's like, oh God, wow, they had like a really traumatic childhood. That's not really the case here. But he does seem to be kind of like an OG incel in that he did not get a lot of attention or really any attention from girls, and he barely had any friends. He did suffer from gynecomastia, which is that disorder that causes male breast tissue to grow abnormally large. Yes. So I can empathize with him.
So mean.
The worst.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can empathize with him because getting friends, that's got to be hard. You're in the locker room with guys, that's difficult. And, you know, having female friendships or relationships is also difficult, especially if you're an introverted person already and you're not outgoing. So he would often talk about in not only his video diaries, but all of his journals, which we'll talk about how many of those there were.
Oh, geez.
That he felt really inadequate. And he would oscillate between talking about being really resentful towards women and being completely uninterested, which is probably a defense mechanism because...
Right.
You know,
it's like, I don't even care that they don't like me. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like those people who are like, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so hot, and then you're like, reject them. Fuck you. You're fucking ugly. You're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh,
you're
okay.
like, well, I was literally hot 3 seconds ago, but that's fine. So he does drop out of high school and he has aspirations to become a famous artist. However, he is denied entry into art school. And this, of course, if you already have super low self-esteem,
it's horrible,
now you're spiraling into deeper feelings of like inferiority and depression.
I think especially with art too, because it's so personal.
It's
so personal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one thing when you get like rejected to like the college of your dreams based on your grades or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's like if it's something to do with like art, music, writing, something that's such a part of you, does feel like you're not good enough in a way that those other
it's
things.
cutting
personal. It's
even
very
deeper.
personal. Yeah.
And also like if you have aspirations, anyone who has aspirations for fame in any aspect, I feel like there is oftentimes an element of like you want to prove to people that you're good enough, like in a very public way. And when he wasn't getting any kind of like, he probably wasn't getting the attention that he wanted from people in school, this may have been a way for him to seek that, just speculating. But so then that's denied from you because you're denied entry into art school, like, you know, makes you feel even worse. So he started working part-time as an exterminator with his brother's pest control business at this time. And he's very young at this point because he dropped out of high school. So he's 17. And by the time he's 17, he's pretty much a social recluse. He didn't really have any friends and he was spending hours in his apartment, and he became really obsessed with like magazines, like of celebrities, like People, gossip magazines, basically, and just very fascinated and fixated on celebrity culture. So in 1993, when he was 18, he watched a video of Bjork and he became instantly infatuated with her, instantly obsessed with her. And for our younger listeners, let's just say who Bjork is. So for our younger listeners who aren't familiar, Bjork is an Icelandic alternative musician. She was in a band when she was really young, and then
cubes.
She's so cute. And then she moved to London to pursue a career as a solo artist, where she like blew up on the alternative scene. And she's very unique. I mean, even to this day,
her voice,
I've loved her since the Sugar Cubes.
Her voice is just incredible in its uniqueness,
it's fascinating,
and its scope, and I love Bjork. I've loved Bjork for a long time too. Yeah. So he immediately starts learning everything he can about her, and he starts sending her fan letters, and she became his artistic muse. So she inspired him to start working on his art again, because he had basically, after he was rejected from art school, had kind of like let that go. And then he kind of credited Bjork with reigniting that like interest in art. So as we know, like that can make the infatuation even more intense, So he writes in his diary that he described his infatuation with her as giving him a euphoric feeling. Like he would go to work all day as a exterminator, and he would get to come home and fantasize about Bjork. And it was like an escape for him, because he did not like working as a exterminator. He talked at length about how much he disliked it and thought that it made him, like, he talks all the time about how he's such a gross person and that this makes him even grosser. He's not making enough money, all of these things. He puts himself down pretty much constantly. So as time went on, his fantasies become more and more disconnected from reality. He became even more reclusive, and he would write about Bjork in his diary every single day until it grew to 803 pages spread across several volumes of notebooks. Ooh. So he had a bunch of composition notebooks that he filled, just volume after volume.
Dear Diary,
100%. Yeah.
No shit.
Jesus.
And he wrote about
this meatloaf wasn't great. Like,
also,
you're like
I
literally
love Bjork.
writing.
He wrote about how he longed to, quote, have an effect on her life, and he fantasized about building a time machine so that he could go back to the 70s and become friends with Bjork when she was a child. But his interest in her is a little confusing. Like, it's all over the map because at times he refers to her as a sister type figure, at times like a mother type figure, and he says in one diary entry, quote, "I couldn't have sex with Bjork because I love her." So he talks about her in this kind of protective way, but he also talks about her sometimes in what seems to be kind of a romantic way, but never in a sexual way. So it's strange. It's strange.
Do you think he, I'm trying to think of the word where he's like projected onto her. It's like everything he wishes he was.
Yes. I think that is a big part of it. Mm-hmm.
Where it is almost like that he found like his self-visualization was Bjork, and he's like, it had to have built frustration in him all the different ways that he wasn't her.
Yeah. I definitely think that there's an element of that for sure in here. Like, she was this incredible, because, you know, not every entertainer is an artist, but Bjork is an artist.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
if he wants to be, I do think that there's an element of him wanting to be that and have that and achieve that kind of fame as an artist, you know. But his diaries are super disturbing, not only because of his obsession with Bjork, but also because he talks so constantly. You cannot talk about yourself like this every day. You can't play these tapes in your head every day about how disgusting you are, what a loser you are, how much you hate yourself, because that shit will have an effect. It will sink in. It's the same way we were talking about doing gratitude every day and how that habit can change your brain. Talking mean to yourself every day can totally fuck you up.
Well, and also as a Midwesterner, we're taught like humility, which sometimes I think brands itself. Like, I tend to be very self-deprecating, and I had to really fucking stop that. Really stop saying things that are quote unquote jokes about yourself, because that shit sticks. Self-deprecation done constantly, day in and day out, literally like wears down your self-esteem. So just stop doing it. It's not funny, and it's not funny for the people around you when you start making like jokes on yourself like that. Like, people get concerned. It's not funny to them either. So let's cut that
and
habit
oftentimes, people don't know how to react to it either, because it's like nobody who loves you is going to agree with you, right? You know, if you say something shitty about yourself. So yeah, I agree entirely. So the diary contained 168 references to his feelings of failure, 34 references to suicide, 14 references to murder, and 408 references to Bjork. Despite all of that, he insists several times that he is not depressed or mentally ill. So I'm telling you, again, don't go watch the tapes, but I'm telling you, they're so confusing because at times he seems very self-aware. And I mean, it's all a little crazy, but he does seem somewhat self-aware and seems to acknowledge that, like, he's depressed, you know, but then he'll turn around and be like, I'm not depressed. Like, my family is, eventually his family gets worried about him. And he's like, I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me.
But that's what we've nailed down in this podcast time and time again. You're talking about somebody that doesn't have, beyond like familial connections, like friendship. And there are ways that friendship grounds you and changes you and allows for growth. And it's such
and holds
a
you
big
accountable.
Part, of who we are as humans. And so if you're talking about somebody that is so isolated, they've lived in their head, and that's a dangerous place to live by yourself.
That is such a good way of putting it. Yes, he lives in his head. His internal life is very strong. Much like that is one thing that comes through on the videos is like much stronger than his actual life. So, on his birthday, January 14th, 1996, so his 21st birthday, which I will also say he does not look 21.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if people just looked older in 1996 or if it was him. It was probably him. But eventually he would make 11 2-hour tapes. That's a lot.
11 2-hour tapes.
Yes.
22 hours.
Of taping.
Yes. Of VHS tapes.
Mm.
And in the first video, it's like you're literally not doing anything else. Like that's the thing that's so worrisome. Again, like if you had friends, they would keep you accountable. They'd be checking in on you. You would be hopefully going out and doing things. You wouldn't have the time to fill, volume after volume of diaries or videotapes.
Right.
Yeah. Like I don't have the time for that.
Right.
I literally don't.
No.
So in the first video, you see him talking to the camera. He's explaining that it's his birthday and he bought this camera to document his life. Then he pretty quickly in the video pulls up a CD cover, picture of Bjork, and he asks his audience, Anyway, he asks the audience to look at her, quote, sweet, angelic face. And then, trigger warning, because this hit me really hard. I forgot this and was not good for me to hear it as much as he said it. So he then says, can you believe she's fucking an N-word? And he goes on to repeat the word over and over, getting obscenely close to the camera, like just lips and teeth, which was really aggressive. Yeah. And so earlier he had read an article. The reason why he bought this camera is because earlier in the week he had read an article in Entertainment Weekly that mentioned that Bjork was in a romantic relationship with a black musician named Goldie. So his bigotry is super apparent in the video as he goes on to say that he has nothing personally against Goldie other than the fact that he's a black man, not the word that he used, and that Bjork being with him is simply unacceptable.
Oh my God.
It's unacceptable to him. So he says that he doesn't blame Goldie for this. He blames Bjork. And outside of the obvious relationship, obvious racism, he also feels betrayed that she's in a relationship at all. Which is so strange because he doesn't seem to want a sexual relationship with Bjork, but he doesn't want her to have lovers, period, especially not people who he deems to be lesser than him. At one point in the tape, he talks about how he thinks of himself as a cockroach, which is a really, again, demeaning way to speak to yourself, but that he thinks...
If that's what he thinks of himself,
exactly.
Then what does he think of?
He literally says it. I'm not going to say what he thinks of black people, but yes, he thinks that they are less than cockroaches. Yes.
Wow.
So, yes.
Wow.
In one diary entry before he bought his camera, so after he read the Entertainment Weekly article, he obviously had some kind of crisis. He went and he wrote in his journal, I'm just going to have to kill her. I'm going to send a package. I'm going to be sending her to hell. And he went on to say how he wanted to inflict his pain onto Bjork. So during his first video, he explains that he's made the decision to kill Bjork and that is part of the reason why he bought the camera, was to document the progression of events that would lead up to him killing Bjork. So he describes that he wants to send Bjork a package to her house disguised as an interactive book that she would have to open. And initially he wanted to send her this is the most fucked up thing. Like, this is the kind of mind we're dealing with. Initially he wanted to send her a letter bomb filled with HIV contaminated syringes.
Christ.
But obviously that wasn't feasible. Weeks go on and he's like, the HIV plan's not going to work out because I can't get my hands on HIV. It's like, well,
oh my fucking God.
But what a sick person that would be.
Right.
the way you wanted to do this. So eventually he settles upon constructing a bomb using sulfuric acid and placing it inside a hollowed out book. And the device was designed so that when Bjork opened it, it would trigger would hurl acid all over her face.
Jesus Christ.
And that it would either kill her or permanently disfigure her. So he planned to send it from her record label and also forged a letter from her record company telling her the book was for a future project. So after he had planned on, after he sent the package, the plan was for him to kill himself so that the two could be reunited in heaven and spend eternity together.
Okay.
It's all over the place. It's wild.
Yeah, you hate her so much that you want to permanently disfigure her or kill her, but yet you want to be reunited in heaven.
Yes.
It's just like how dangerous self-hatred is, honestly, because it doesn't make any sense. And also, there's something self-preservationist about humans that when things get so dark, when you're talking like suicide or something, it starts to project outwards. And that's when people get fucking dangerous and they start hurting other people.
Right. I mean, well, he even says at one point in the tapes that like when he finally decides that he's going to kill himself at the end of it, when it's all over, because initially he was trying to figure out how to not get caught. He actually bought Mindhunter.
Oh
he
my God.
Bought like, and he shows the camera, he bought like a bunch of true crime books because initially he was going to try and get away with it. But then he decided like, no, I'm not going to worry about wiping my fingerprints off or doing whatever because I'm going to kill myself anyway. So that, and then he goes on to say like there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who doesn't have anything to lose, and that's exactly it. If you're not afraid of dying or consequences or anything, then yeah. So the last step in his plan was to obtain Bjork's home address in London, and at the time, such addresses were available for as little as $5 from celebrity services that give away personal details for money.
Fuck is wrong with people?
I don't know.
The human race is...
Yeah. So the video diary entries just get more and more bizarre as they go on. Often in them, another reason why none of you should watch them, he is naked. Oftentimes in these videos. And he is constantly degrading himself. He shows like basically like a video tour of his apartment. It is a disaster. It is a disaster. He also shows a sculpture of Bjork that he's working on, which is super fucking creepy. And I mean, he's just, I feel like when you get into such a state of depression that you just don't care about yourself at all. Like the house was, it was very clear that, and when he was talking in one of the tapes, he literally leans down, picks up a shirt or a sheet or something off the ground, blows his nose into it, and then throws it back down on the ground.
No, sir.
Like that's the kind of mental situation we're dealing with here.
Oh my God, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems to have an understanding. This is what I mean about how weird it is, because he seems to have an understanding about how strange his obsession with Bjork seems from the outside. He says in one video that he realizes that people will watch his tapes and say, you can't possibly be in love with someone you've never met, and then goes on to say that love is just a chemical reaction in the brain and you don't have to meet someone to be in love with them. So he has an understanding of like, this is odd to most people. But he has an answer for it, you know? All right. So we're going to fast forward because we don't need any more info on him. I was starting to get really grossed out.
Yeah.
Diving in. Yes. So everyone gets the gist. So once he's secured Bjork's home address for almost no money, he goes about constructing his device, and he like shows him building it, like the entire process. He's trying to figure out the best way to send sulfuric acid, while also trying to decide how he wanted to go about ending his own life, because he wanted to have both plans figured out before he sent the package. So at this point, he is almost completely agoraphobic. He has lost his job. His utilities are starting to be shut off because he can't pay his bills. And like I said, he's reading a lot of true crime. And at this time, his family is starting to notice that he is unwell, and they tried to get him to see someone for his depression, and his parents try to get him to move in with them, but he refuses. So he started really building the device in earnest in July, and again, he documents the entire process. On the last day before he mails it, he shows himself adding the sulfuric acid to the package while a video of a Bjork interview plays in the background.
Jesus.
On September the 12th of 1996, so really, I mean, he's done this since January. So January to September, 9 months. He is ready to send it. So he packaged up the device and he sent it to Bjork's London address. After returning from the post office at about 9:30 in the morning, he says that the plan went off without a hitch. And even though he's not 100% sure whether or not it will actually make it to Bjork, he says, quote, "At least I can say I gave it a real effort."
Wow.
Wow.
Oh.
So he also says at this point that he's not going to take his life yet because the neighbors are around, but he will do it soon. And this is the part of the video where it gets really, really strange. And okay, so he takes a pair of kitchen shears and he cuts off all of his hair. And then he shaves his head and his eyebrows. And then he covers his face with green and red face paint. Like he looks like Darth Maul. It's so bizarre, and he's making very grotesque faces at the camera. And I read something.
This is more than depression.
Yes,
that's terrifying.
Yeah.
This person
It's
is
very
really
scary.
Unwell. Yeah.
Yes, and someone I had read something where someone had said that it's possible that he did that because, like you said, human beings have a very strong need to protect ourselves and preserve our life, and that he tried to make himself look as grotesque as possible because then
himself unrecognizable to himself. Wow.
So it didn't look like him. He has covered his wall with pictures of Bjork that have been cut out of magazines, and I can't imagine the people who showed up to this apartment. No. It looked like something out of a horror film because he's got pictures of Bjork covering the wall. And then next to it, written in grease paint, it says the 8mm tapes are documentation of a crime. And then he has an arrow to the stack of VHS tapes. And it says terrorist material, therefore the FBI.
That's fucking terrifying. That's like that fucking movie that Dude Face made me watch, the Sinister or whatever. I'm like, don't play the tapes. Don't fucking ever play the tapes. Ever.
But they had to play the tapes.
Yeah.
So he's also scrawled anti-Black racist slurs on the wall. And around 12:45, he sits down on his couch. There is a still image behind him of Bjork on his TV. And he gives his last words. Again, it's so fucking confusing because in his last words, he says, "Fuck Bjork." And then has a lot more racist language about her relationship with Goldie. And then he starts listening to the song "I Remember You" by Bjork. It starts playing because he'd been listening to Bjork, but okay. So he'd been listening to Bjork, and you can tell that he's having a difficult time. Mm-hmm. And so when "I Remember You" starts playing, he says that this is the last song. He said, you can tell he's gearing himself up. He's like, at the end of this, we're done. So at the end of the song, he says, "This is for you," before pulling the trigger. So 4 days later, the apartment below Lopez noticed what appeared to be blood seeping out of the ceiling.
Oh my God. You move out of that place immediately.
Oh yeah. We're done.
Yeah. So they notice blood coming out of their walls. The walls are bleeding.
Oh my God.
And so they call the police.
I'd have called a priest.
Yeah.
We got an exorcism. Jesus.
So the cops arrive and they find Lopez's body surrounded by a heap of videotapes. And since there was one still in the camera titled The Last Day, and so therefore that was the first one that they watched. So luckily they watched that. It detailed kind of like the whole plan. It had the date of when he went and mailed the package. So they estimated that it would take 5 days for the package mailed in Florida to reach a London address, and it was 4 days in.
Oh my God.
They called Scotland Yard. They were like, hey, this is the deal. This is what we're concerned about. We don't know, because Scotland Yard has not released the information of how they were able to track this package down, but they were able to track the package down at a London post office.
Thank God.
The next stop was Bjork's home.
No
So
way.
they got there really like seriously right in time. So right after the bomb was found, Bjork emerged from her home. You can watch her. She looks like a shaken kitten. Like she looks like she's in shock, you know.
Oh my God.
And she's clearly shaken, and she's very like soft spoken. But she says, she was more worried about her son. She had a small son at home at this time. Like, what happened if he'd opened the package or anything?
Oh my God.
Like, she was more concerned about her son than she was for herself. But she's such a compassionate human being. She's saying, like, of course it's terrible, like, that this person did this and like and died. Like, she seemed very upset that this person had died, and she actually sent a condolence card and flowers to Lopez's family afterwards.
Wow, can you imagine?
So that's it. I felt very conflicted about doing this one because, one, I don't...
Obsession stories are so... Oof.
They're so scary, and anytime you're dealing with mental illness, also, I feel like you have to do it
delicately.
Right. Yeah. And then also, I don't want to glorify or glamorize or make anybody want to seek out this material because I regret having watched as much of it as I did. And I didn't watch all of it. So I know I can't stop anyone now that I've put it out there, but like, I would encourage you not to do that. But it isn't, it's a fascinating case. There's a reason why people talk about it.
No, that's I didn't know like a lot of the details about him. Of course, I knew the thing happened, but I think it's a really unique Crazy in Love in that a lot of times we're talking about, what happens when love turns wrong or something like that between two people, but like what happens
when it's one-sided,
when it's one-sided, or when you don't love yourself, when that self-love goes crazy or goes awry.
Yes,
like, look how many people you can hurt. I think that's really, really fascinating. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, man. I didn't know. I mean, I, of course, knew some of it, but I have never really done much of a deep dive on it. So that's...
Well, now you don't have to.
No, thank you. I won't. I will not. Well, what are you guys getting into this week? That's...
Oh dear. So first of all, I've got a couple things, but first of all, Christina.
Yes.
I have been watching Unwell.
And what do you think?
Listen, it is a good show. Like, I definitely
hella frustrating, isn't it?
It's so frustrating, and I never thought that I was such a skeptic. Like, I feel like such a square watching this show because every time somebody talks about something, I'm like,
you're like, whatever.
I'm like, okay. And I don't want to be like that because I'm like, I don't want to discredit like anyone's positive experiences. If it worked for you, like, cool.
The bee sting one made me see fire, though.
The bee sting one, man. Okay, so what we're talking about is there's a show on Netflix that's all about like the wellness, quote unquote, community or movement, and so each week they focus on like a different kind of like wellness trend. So there's like essential oils is the first one, which will make you see fire because of
the predatory nature of MLMs.
And then there's one on bee stings. I cannot bring myself to watch the one where they're all drinking breast milk,
mother's milk.
I feel like
I can't.
I feel like I will work myself up to it, but I'm not there yet. So it's been a wild ride. Let me tell you.
You had told me about it, Keegan. I knew you were watching it, and I literally 3 times this week was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch this, and I can't.
The essential oils episode is actually really good. I would recommend watching that one for sure. I mean, and they're all good. It's just, man, there are varying degrees of
loathing.
Yeah.
It's like one of the favorite type of programs for Eric and I to watch together is to just sit on the couch and literally rip on these people 1,000%, and it just gives us such joy.
The Action Park show is out now.
It's tomorrow. I thought it's tomorrow. Oh no, it's already out.
No, it was like 2 days ago. It was like, yeah.
I
think I might have to
watch it.
Yeah.
Me too. That one looks good. Okay, so the other thing that I watched last night was we watched Bill and Ted Face the Music, the third one, third Bill and Ted movie.
It's out?
Yeah, I thought it's the fourth one.
No, it's the third one. I'm working on it for work, so it's the third one. But okay, I have complicated thoughts about it. So I actually got a lot of nostalgic joy watching Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves together and their scenes. I enjoyed that a lot. But the whole thing is that like they're old and now they have daughters and like the daughters are like in it, but the daughters are also supposed to be like Bill and Ted, and that kind of over the top like acting like this, like it doesn't work. It
just didn't translate.
It just didn't translate. And like the one who's playing Keanu Reeves' daughter is like, she watched both the Bill and Ted movies and she just is doing an imitation of Keanu Reeves from the 80s, and like that it doesn't work. But if you liked the original, you will find moments that are nostalgic and cute.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
all right. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was out yet. That's crazy. Well, speaking of journeys, we started The Vow.
Oh, Jesus.
How is it so far?
I got to be honest with you. I'm in a weird headspace about it, which is why this is what I decided to talk about instead of the sexy books I'm reading. I'm in a smut kick, but The Vow it's the NXIVM documentary that they're doing. Yep. And it is this first episode. It is like, it's hard because literally Chris and I are like looking at each other like, there's a lot of really good principles here, like what the foundation of this is and the idea that well,
that's how cults work.
Yeah. And
that's how they work.
But I'm like, you can see how somebody could get trapped into it. And you look at it and you're like, could be really good information. The things that some of the thoughts that they're talking about could be great information. And how did it go from this and turn into a
but
fucking...
you can do that with any religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Because like Jonestown, there's a great documentary about Jonestown. I think it's called Paradise Lost or something like that. But there's a great documentary about Jonestown. And for the first half of it, if somebody like, it was all about racial equality and like loving kindness, and like,
you're like, why can't it say that?
Someone had come to my town in the 60s and been like, hey, you want to join us on this thing? I probably would have been like, yeah, that sounds great.
Nobody,
but that's how cults work.
Yeah, but nobody should have that much power. I think that's what it really comes down to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
just in general, not just in cults, but I mean, look around. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the people in power have cults behind them. That's really, I mean, if you look at it, it is cult behavior. A lot of the things that,
100,
people, even just now, like what we're going through and just like our system of government, like people are cultish in their actions toward how they behave toward other people who don't see eye to eye with them. I mean,
well, that's why you can't pledge allegiance to a party or a system.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Like, it needs to be about the people. It always needs to be about your communities and each other. Because the minute you get into being like digging your heels in on a person, one person, or a party, or any of those things, like, you lose sight of what you really think. That's what happens with cults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'd heard about the vow. And I actually think that that's an interesting approach. I bet you as it goes on, of course, they're going to pull away from
Yeah. I mean, they already started, like, the end of this episode, it was, like, already, like, it was, like, you know, the cracks are starting to show, you know?
Well, and people like Keith Raniere, because Behind the Bastards has episodes on Keith Raniere, and people like Keith Raniere, they know how to manipulate people.
Course,
That's what makes them good cult leaders. So they're like, how can I get you hooked on it? Well, how about I introduce all these wonderful principles that you want to live your life by, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I recommend it. So far, so good. I'm very interested in it. It's, like I said, we saw the first episode this week. And so this next one should be out tomorrow, I think, Sunday.
Nice.
So
I have been watching and vacuuming the grass while watching the new season of I Am a Killer.
Oh, shit.
I Am a Killer released.
I saw it on my Netflix today. Oh, my God.
It is wild.
Okay.
Wild. This fucking dude face, like, had a traumatic childhood, wilded out, and killed a subway guy, and spent 30 years in prison, and then some chick that's like 71 years old started writing to him, this lonely old woman, and so then he gets paroled and he moves in with her.
No.
The cameras are rolling. Ladies, I am invested. It is.
wow.
I'm like, when is the shoe going to drop? Because this shit is going to go poorly real soon. Dude.
Yep.
Dude, I'm into it.
Yeah. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I'm hooked. Hook, line,
Is
and
it just
sinker.
about one person?
It's so far that's what it seems like. It's just about this guy that murdered somebody, admits he murdered somebody, and then was paroled after 30 years and is like back in the world, living with and I'm like, is he fucking scamming this shit? Like, Eric and I are trying to fucking profile this guy like 100, because he was 21 when he hit jail, and he's 51 now, and shacking up with a 71-year-old dude. At one point, he's like washing her goddamn feet. And he starts crying, and she starts crying, and Eric and I are like jaws on the floor. Ladies, you
Talk
gotta
about cults. Like, that shit seems like cult.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah. I don't.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Like that.
Yikes.
Yeah. So if you guys have stuff that we should watch, if you've got grass to vacuum, if you have stories about terrible dates, please go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com. We really appreciate you guys listening, and we love you so much.
Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media podcast.